Court is back in session once again. Welcome back to another episode of Tony's Takes presented by Fireside Giants. I'm your host. You can call me Tony, and you can follow me on Twitter at Anthony_Rivardo. So today we have our fifth and final installment in the offensive line breakdown mini-series. Today we're going to be going over the right tackle position, breaking down the strengths and the weaknesses of Matt Peart and Nate Solder. Of course, many of you know, who are frequent listeners of the Fireside Giants podcast, I'm a huge Matt Peart fan. I think that he will be the best offensive lineman on the Giants this season if he stays healthy. I feel that strongly about Matt Peart, and I've really been a fan of his since before he was even a New York Giant. I was a huge fan of him coming out of UConn. I watched his film and just became enamored by this prospect. I thought that he was phenomenal, and I thought that he was going to be a stud in the NFL, like a long-term quality, good starter, and I think that he will be that with the Giants. I was so thrilled when they drafted him with the 99th overall pick. Earlier that morning, I put out a mock draft on Twitter, and I had Matt Peart to the Giants at 99 overall, and nevertheless, he got drafted by the Giants at 99 overall, and I kind of lost my mind. I was so excited. I was over the moon about that selection, and to this day, I still am. Of course, he didn't play too much in his rookie season. He only played 150 total snaps, never became a starter, but that's okay, so be it. He's still a good player with a lot of potential, young player who's growing in this league, entering his second season now as the projected starter. Of course, he just returned to practice at training camp. He kind of, was dealing with a back injury since like April, and it was really giving him grief this past week, up until this past week, and now he's back in the starting lineup, and he looks pretty damn good in training camp. He looks really good so far. There was a clip that went viral, and he looked really strong. I think it was Cam Brown in a pass set that he just demolished. Cam Brown tried to beat him on an inside move, and Matt Peart, man, he has some quick feet, and that was the number one takeaway that I had when I watched him in college, and they really showed up on display in that clip against Cam Brown at practice, and then he kind of just put Cam Brown into the dirt, so very exciting stuff. So, and of course, Nate Solder, he's, we all know Nate Solder, long-term veteran in the NFL, former New England Patriot that the Giants paid an absurd amount of money to be a mediocre tackle, and he was mediocre his first year, kind of a little below average his second year with the Giants, but, now he's returning after opting out of the 2019 season. So we'll go into all of that, and we'll really dive deeper into these players, and we'll go through the strengths, the weaknesses, the biggest question for both of them, and the bottom line for both of them. So I guess let's start off with Matt Peart, my boy. Matt Pancake Peart. That's something that we came up with on Twitter today once we saw him pancake Cam Brown. And let's get into his strengths. Now, this is going to surprise some of you when I say this, but to me, his biggest strength is pass blocking, and that's because of footwork. His footwork is his biggest strength, but pass blocking versus run blocking, I personally see him as a better pass blocker, and that's going to be surprising to some players or to some fans, because you're going to look at his stats on PFF from his rookie season, and you're going to see very poor pass blocking grades and very poor pass blocking statistics. And I'm going to tell you right now, my opinion is that is not 100%. That is all the Giants coaching staff fault. That is Mark Colombo's fault. Whatever they were teaching these offensive linemen last year, it makes no sense. And here's why. I'm still looking at Matt Peart as a collegiate prospect. Just because he played 150 snaps in the NFL, I'm not going to judge him based solely off of those 150 snaps when I have 3,000 collegiate snaps that I can judge him off of as well. He's only a year removed from that. And not only was he only a year removed from that, he's a year removed in a year where he had no training camp, no offseason to practice with the team, no preseason to get up to speed. He had none of that. He just was thrown into the fire like every other rookie, and he only managed 150 snaps on the field. He was dealing with an injury. He was supposed to start the second half of the year and take over for Cam Fleming, who I know Giants fans weren't very fond of. He was supposed to take over, but that back injury was nagging him, so he ultimately did not. That's a tidbit that Jordan Rannon gave us really early on this offseason. So Matt Peart earned a starting job. He just couldn't keep it because he was not healthy, and that's something that we'll get into when we talk about his weaknesses. But of course, with Matt Peart, when you watch his collegiate film when he was at UConn, his pass blocking, his pass sets were phenomenal, like absolutely phenomenal, and true pass sets, which I've gone over a couple times in the series. If you haven't been keeping up with it, I'll find the definition of true pass set here so you guys can understand exactly what a true pass set is. Represents snaps in which an offensive tackle pass protects specifically without play action, rollouts, and screens with more than a three-man rush and with between 2 and 4 seconds to throw the ball. This gives a more accurate picture of true pass protection. And this is something that Pro Football Focus uses, and they say is the number one thing that translates to the NFL when they evaluate collegiate talent. If you have phenomenal true passing sets in college, you will be at least an average quality starting offensive lineman in the NFL. And in college, he had a 95.3% actual win rate in pass blocking from true passing sets in college, according to PFF. 95.3%. That put him like in the elite category for true pass sets, along with guys like Andrew Thomas, guys like Jedrick Wills, Tristan Wirfs. He was really up there with the best of them in that draft class in terms of his true passing sets. And that's the key. That's the number one thing that you look for, or at least PFF looks for, and I look for in offensive line prospects. I want to see how they do in those one-on-one pass sets, those true pass sets. How well are you doing? How well are you defending these pass rushers? And Matt Peart did it pretty much better than anybody. And like I said, when I watched this film, I was just shocked. I was like, oh my God, this guy is a gem. He is a diamond in the rough. Look at the way he moves his feet. I mean, this guy had the best footwork for a small school prospect that I've seen, like ever. I mean, he was so good. He had such quick feet. The way that he had the ability to mirror defenders, speedy edge rushers coming off the edge, he would just mirror them. He was able to kick step and shuffle and just stay with them the entire time. His ability to mirror and his quick feet were just phenomenal. His footwork was elite, I thought, for a young prospect, and he did a phenomenal job with that. And I think it translated this past season, and it's definitely translated in the clips that we've seen of him practicing, for the 2 days that he's been practicing at Giants camp this year. We've seen really good footwork, and I think we're going to continue to see that. And that was the thing with me, for a young guy coming out of college to have that good of footwork, that's such a great foundation to build on. If his strength is that strong and his footwork is that good, and he's 6'7" with the longest wingspan of any right tackle in the NFL, dude, think about what you're working with here. A guy who has all of the intangible traits and the tangible traits. Like, he has it both. He's got the great technique, and he's got the super rare size, strength, and athleticism blend that you desire in your right tackle. He might not be the fastest guy, so maybe not athleticism. He's pretty fast, but he's not the fastest guy. Like, he's about average, but he's got just the longest arms, the tallest, he's tall, he's long, and he's just a perfect build for a right tackle. Plus, he's got this amazing footwork. He's so agile for a guy that size. It's unbelievable. And that was the number one thing. It just blew me away when I was watching his film in college. So you already have that, and now you just have to build on the rest of the stuff and work from the ground up. You've got his feet right. Now let's work on his hands, and let's work on his strength. That's his biggest weakness. I'm going to get into that in a second, but I want to talk about his run blocking, because I personally saw his run blocking as somewhat of a weakness when I was watching his collegiate film. I thought he was a good run blocker, but I did think he was better in pass protection because of his feet. His feet were just so damn good. It blew me away, and I was like, there's so much to work with here. When he gets to the NFL, he's got the feet. Now you just kind of have to work with, the rest of the stuff to make him a true elite pass protector. And I think that he has that actual capability to be an elite pass protecting offensive tackle in the NFL just because his feet are so damn good. But the run blocking, this past year, his PFF run blocking grade on 150 snaps, mind you, and I think only 70 something of those were run blocking snaps, but he had an 81.7 run blocking grade, and people are looking at that because that's a really high grade on PFF's grading scale. People are looking at those 150 snaps, that 81.7 run blocking grade, and saying, wow, the Giants have this phenomenal elite run blocker in the making with Matt Peart. Okay, they might, but his true strength coming out of college was his pass blocking, and the reason that didn't translate, and I'm going to make a video on this, a separate video, and it's kind of a conspiracy video, you can call it, but I think that the real reason his pass blocking wasn't so good this past year on those 150 snaps is because of the Giants coaching. And I'm going to show you a statistical link that might prove that, because every single player on the offensive line did worse in true pass sets this past season than they had in the past. Andrew Thomas was another one of those players that had really high true pass sets coming out of college, gets to the league, and we talked about him in the first episode of the series, how Paul Alexander, famous offensive line coach, was saying his form, his fundamentals, his technique, it's all just changed. What did they do to him? Why is he using this horrible technique in the NFL? he was being taught that, and he was told not to use the stuff that he used at Georgia. Second half of the year, he started to use that Georgia technique again. Much, much better player for Andrew Thomas, at least. He was so much better once he went back to the Georgia technique and stopped using whatever technique Mark Colombo taught him to use, right? And I hate to just paint Mark Colombo out as this giant villain, place all the blame on him, but again, I found a statistical link because he had really high true passing sets in college. Gets to the NFL, first half of the season, when Mark Colombo is coaching him, true passing sets were horrendous. Second half of the season, when Mark Colombo is no longer coaching him, his true passing sets were pretty damn good again. Looked like the college Andrew Thomas. That's not, and that's not just exclusive to Andrew Thomas. Matt Peart as well had elite true pass sets in college. Gets to the NFL, coached by Mark Colombo. Horrible true pass sets, but still a good run blocker like he was in college. So clearly, the technique wasn't changed for their run blocking, but something was changed in their passing sets, in their pass blocking technique that just ruined these players last season. Even Shane Lemieux, as bad as he was in pass protection this past year, he wasn't that great in college either, but he was much better than that. And if you look at Nick Gates, his pass sets were much better in 2020 than they were in 2019 than they were in 2020. And if you even look at Kevin Zeitler, his true passing sets were better in 2020 and 2019. So something happened where everybody just got worse in true passing sets. Everybody's technique and fundamentals were worse in true passing sets, in pass protection. And I found that statistical link, and I'm going to make a deep dive video on that statistical link, and then also add in, once we get film back from Game Pass, because they don't have it available to everybody who's paying for it right now, which is ridiculous. Game Pass, get your crap together. I'm going to go ahead and show the film and show the difference between the guys in college or the season before, and then show why their technique changed so much under Mark Colombo, what changed in their technique that caused them to get so much worse, and how this statistical link that I found really proves that the Giants coaching was the problem in 2020. And that's why I think 2021 is going to be a huge rebound for these players. Matt Peart, I expect his pass blocking, it was 60-something grade this past season. It was pretty poor, 46.9 overall grade in his rookie season. And he only played 150 snaps, mind you, but it was really bad. And he allowed 9 pressures and 2 sacks on 80 opportunities, which is an 11% pressure rate. Not as bad as Andrew Thomas's or anybody's, but pretty bad. 11.25%. That's pretty bad, and it's a small sample size, but still, his pass blocking sucked. And so basically what I'm saying is all of these players were really good at pass blocking, and then they got really bad once they were coached by Mark Colombo. So, of course, you look at this past season, in his rookie year, his pass blocking was a weakness. Those stats that I just said were really bad. But again, keep in mind, 95.3 pass blocking true and 95.3% pass blocking win rate for true passing sets in college versus 20% allowed pressure rates on true passing sets as a rookie. The astronomical difference that is unbelievable. You're talking about 4.7% versus 20%. That is horrendous, and you don't just become a horrible pass protector overnight. Something had to happen. Again, we also got to keep in mind another one of his weaknesses is the fact that he was playing injured and that he has been injured up until a week ago. You got to keep that in mind. That could have affected his ability to pass protect. His back was bothering him. It could have affected his ability to perform as a good offensive tackle in the NFL. And this upcoming season, if he's fully healthy, though, that's why I say I think he's got a really high ceiling. I think he can be the best. He's just going to have to stay healthy, and hopefully that back injury doesn't get re-aggravated. Hopefully it doesn't continue to nag him as it had all off-season long. Hopefully he is fully healthy. Now, the biggest weakness that I saw from Matt Peart in his collegiate tape was his strength. Now, I saw moments where he was really struggling to push guys and move guys in run blocking, and even sometimes would get beat in pass protection by the bull rush. And this was a clear lack of strength from Matt Peart throughout his collegiate tape. And that's a problem because he was playing at UConn. He was facing pretty crummy competition, and he wasn't strong enough to move those guys the way that you would like to see him maul and move those guys. So when he gets to the NFL, of course, that affected his pass blocking as well, and that's why he struggled in pass blocking last year. He was struggling to anchor. He was struggling to move guys. He wasn't very strong. But I'll say this. As much as I think the strength was his biggest weakness coming out of college, and you can go back, look at the receipts. You can go back all the way to those old videos, those old podcast episodes, back when we drafted him. I was very adamant his strength was a problem. I guarantee you, if you go watch the film from his rookie season, you're going to see his strength be a problem on the film as well. But I was very adamant that the strength was going to be a problem, And I think that he might have fixed it. You look at pictures of Matt Peart from right now versus last year. The dude looks like the mountain from Game of Thrones, as Alex loves to say on the podcast. He's just jacked now. Like, I don't know what happened, but he had a growth spurt or something. He really added some muscle and added some strength this offseason. And I think it showed up in that clip against Cam Brown at Giants training camp. He just looked really strong. He moved Cam Brown very easily. He mirrored him really well with quick feet, and then he pushed him down into the dirt. So I think he might have fixed his biggest weakness, or at least, made it less of a weakness than it was. And that's super exciting because, like I said, he's already got those quick feet. He's already got this. He's already got that. He just had to fix a couple things and add a few things. Looks like he might have fixed his biggest weakness. And of course, that did show up a lot in run blocking. Like I said, I thought he was a pretty good run blocker in college, but he wasn't as good in pass as he was in pass protection. His run blocking was an 81.7 on 150 snaps this past year, as I mentioned. But when I watched his lack of strength in college, I said he might struggle in run blocking, and he didn't. But then he struggled in pass blocking, which I didn't think he would. Again, I think that was because of coaching. I'm being pretty optimistic here, but I think with the improved strength, with hopefully better coaching in those pass sets, you take that, you combine collegiate Matt Peart, somewhere in the middle of collegiate Matt Peart, with what we saw last year. He's still a good run blocker last year, despite having those strength issues and not adding the muscle that he's clearly added this offseason. Combine all that, that's why I see such a high ceiling for this guy. I think he really can be the best offensive lineman on the Giants this year. I'm very high on Matt Peart. I'll do a film breakdown or whatever if you guys want me to. Just let me know in the comment section below. If you really want me to dive deeper into Matt Peart, I will, because I can go on and on about Matt Peart. I can talk about him all day and all night. He really is one of my favorite players on the Giants right now, and I see a very high ceiling for this kid and a very bright future. So, bottom line, Matt Peart, I think he'll be the best. Biggest question for him is, can he stay healthy? Will his back bother him, or will he be healthy? Will he win the starting job? Yes, I think that's a question that we already have answered. I think he's expected to be the starter this year. But the bigger question is, will he be healthy throughout the entire year? He struggled with that back injury, and back injuries are something that tend to nag players and don't necessarily heal properly overnight. So could be something that bothers him this season as well. I really, really hope not, and I don't think it will, but that's my biggest question. Will he stay healthy? And will he return to form from what we saw in college? Will he be able to fix those passing sets? Again, I think he'll stay healthy, and I really think he's going to fix those passing sets. And I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. I'm really high on Matt Peart, guys. I really think he's going to surprise people and show that he is a very talented football player. So that's my take on Matt Peart. Bottom line, like I said, his ceiling is being the best player on this offensive line. So, bottom line. Let's get into Nate Solder. Let's talk about him a little bit. I won't talk about him too much because you guys know who Nate Solder is. You know exactly what we're getting with Nate Solder, and you guys know that we don't really want Nate Solder on this team. We just have to have him because we're locked into a contract, right? So let's talk about his strengths. Number one strength is his veteran experience, okay? The guy's been in the league for 9 years, maybe 10, maybe 11, 12, somewhere around there. He's been in the NFL for like a decade, right? I think he entered the league in 2011, so this is 10 years for him now. He's a 10-year veteran, so congrats to Nate Solder for having such a long and successful career, and we know that he's got a veteran with great experience, and Andrew Thomas is raving about him, said that he is a true asset to this offensive line. He's learned from Nate Solder. Nate Solder's done a good job being a great leader and helping these young guys get up to speed now that he's back in the building. Another thing with Nate Solder, versatility, I think is a pretty good strength for him. Of course, he's been a left tackle for like 90% of his career, but the 1 year that he played right tackle, his rookie season, he wasn't so bad at it. Plus, now they have this thing with Nate Solder on the roster where they can kind of make him versatile. He's not really a swing tackle, but now he can be. Like they have the ability to just move Nate Solder to the left side, to the right side, and have him be that jumbo tight end, a swing tackle. Just have him play next to the right tackle in place of the tight end when they're on the goal line. You get that extra lineman out there, and that extra lineman happens to be Nate Solder, which is pretty damn good to have for an extra lineman. Usually your extra linemen are just guys that you put out there because they're big and they're strong, and you just want them to push forward for a little bit. Well, Nate Solder can be a true asset in that facet of the game. You can see the Giants run a lot of heavy personnel, jumbo personnel packages, and that's because they have Nate Solder as a really good swing tackle who can go out there and line up next to the offensive tackle or even rotate in. Plus, he's great depth. He's phenomenal depth. If you want good depth, you're talking about having Nate Solder as your backup tackle. Like, Nate Solder could start on like half of the teams in the NFL probably. There's question marks because he opted out last season. Totally fair. Teams would probably be like, I don't know. You didn't play last year. Why would we start you? But still, throughout his career, he's always been a starter who's been about average to slightly above. He is a phenomenal player to have as a backup. I think Giants fans might not really be appreciating what we have in depth as Nate Solder at offensive tackle. So basically, you got a lot of great veteran experience, versatility, and great depth in Nate Solder. And he's also been a really good run blocker throughout the entirety of his career. If you go look at his PFF grades and you really go read up on him and you watch some film, he's always been a good run blocker. It's pass protection where he's had some issues throughout his career, and that's going to be my number one weakness for him. Allowed 56 pressures and 11 sacks in 2019. He was just a turnstile protecting Eli Manning's blind side that year, and then Daniel Jones's blind side as well. So real issue there, Nate Solder was, and that's something where can he fix that at this stage in his career? He's aging, he's regressing. I don't think he can fix that. I think his biggest weakness is going to remain his biggest weakness. I don't think he's going to just become a better pass protector. So that's why I don't want him to start, and I think that he should just be a really good swing tackle and really good depth, and I think he will be, so I'm excited about that. And then, of course, the other weakness is just the question marks regarding the fact that he hasn't played football in over a year and he's in his 30s. That's a big question mark. Does he still have it? And how much did he even have when he was on the field, when he was allowing 56 pressures and 11 sacks? So, not the best player for Nate Solder. My biggest question is, what's his role exactly? I think it's that swing tackle. They want him to compete and try and win the starting right tackle spot. I don't think he will. And another big question is, what version of Nate Solder are we getting? Are we getting an average to above, run blocker and pass protector, an average tackle in the NFL that could start on teams? Or are we getting final stages of his career, Nate Solder, after he opted out last year? He hasn't played football in over a year. Is he really here to compete? Like, how good is he going to be after all of that? So, biggest questions, there's just so many damn questions for Nate Solder, so I don't really know. It's just a lot of questions for him. Bottom line is, that you're at least getting a solid offensive lineman that can play as a swing tackle and be a really good depth for you. That's what you're getting with Nate Solder. Bottom line, you're getting good depth and a solid swing tackle. I just don't think the ceiling is all that high for him at this stage in his career. I think it's pretty damn low. But I really like him as depth, and I really like Matt Peart as the starter, and I can't wait to see these guys suit up in preseason and see who plays better and see, if Matt Peart did fix those pass protecting problems, if he did add that good strength that it looks like he added, if Nate Solder is back, return to form. These are all the questions that I have that will get answered really, really soon, and I'm excited to see all that. And of course, as you all know, we're going to update you every single day with elite content, daily uploads, giving you all the updates on these guys, more breakdowns on players, more deep dives on certain specific position groups and different players and all of that. So make sure you stay tuned to Tony's takes. I'm going to do them solo. These are where we get a little more analytical, show the stats, and really give specific takes on specific topics more. It's kind of like Tony's topics, and then I give my takes on those topics. So make sure, if you enjoy that, stay tuned to Tony's takes. And then, of course, stay tuned to Fireside Giants, where Alex and I are just going to be spitting out elite content every single day. We're going to keep the quality as high as possible. We give you high quality stuff, guys, and we're going to continue to do that every damn day throughout the season, sometimes multiple uploads in a day, and we're so excited. We have some really big ideas that we keep discussing with each other, and so I'm kind of just teasing and hinting to things to you guys right now. I'm rambling here, but make sure you guys stay tuned, because we have some really big ideas in store and some really big things coming this upcoming season, and we can't wait to kick it off and get started. So make sure you stay tuned. Subscribe if you're new, and ring the bell so you don't miss a video. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Who's going to start at right tackle? Who do you want to start at right tackle? What's your take on Matt Peart? What's your take on Nate Solder? Love to read it. I will interact. I will respond to them. So make sure you leave a comment. Like if you enjoy. Join the membership part of the channel if you really enjoy our content. We would really appreciate that. The love and support you guys give us is awesome. So thank you guys very much. I'm going to adjourn the court here in just a second, but first I got to say, let's go Giants.